All right, 8.2 is adding and subtracting. So just like going back to regular fractions, 1/2 plus 2/3, you can't add those until you find a common denominator, which would be 6. So what we need to do is find a common denominator, which in this case, on the number 1a, means we first have to factor this into x plus 1, x minus 1. All right, okay? And that's all we're doing right now. We're just finding the least common denominator. So this one here has x plus 1, x minus 1. This one has only x minus 1. So the LCD for this one is the x plus 1, x minus 1. Okay? We need to factor this. And that's going to be x. That's going to be 2 times 1. We want more positives than negatives. All right? So this one has x plus 2, x minus 1. This one has only x plus 2. So our LCD for this one will be x plus 2, x minus 1. Okay, over here, we look at the 2 and the 8. Find out the first number. Like, imagine it was just 5 over 2 plus 1 over 8. Okay, well, the LCD would be 8 because 2 goes into 8. We don't have to go to 16. 8 is the smallest number. Okay, and then we have x squared and x to the 1. Well, we can't go backwards, so we want to bump up to 2, x squared. Y cubed, y to the 1. So again, we can't go backwards, so we're going to go with y3 as the least common denominator, or in this case, least common multiple in the denominator spot. And then z and z, we just leave z. Now, we're going to add and subtract. Notice we have the same denominator, which is no different than 1/4 plus 7/4. And we could just add that and get 8/4. Okay, so in this case, we know what our denominator is going to be. It's going to be 2x minus 3. And since this is a plus sign, we're just joining like terms. 4x plus 7x, 11x. 10 minus 3 is 7, and we're finished. That's it. Okay. Here, we have the same denominator. So we know it's going to be x squared minus 5x. Really not much to do here. But remember, this minus sign has to get distributed to both of these. So this becomes plus, that becomes minus and minus. So we have 6x minus 4x and negative 13 minus 3, which is 16. Okay. Now, you could leave it like this, or you could factor out the 2 and have x minus 8. And then the x here, and get x minus 5. In this case, it doesn't do any good to factor, but you always want to check the factoring, even if you don't write it out, because sometimes something might come out and simplify. All right? So you want to at least look at it, and in your mind, see if factoring would help. In this case, if you looked ahead and said, well, that won't help, I could just leave it like that. But sometimes this will lead to something canceling. So you always want to check and see if something will factor out and if it leads to any canceling. All right, so the first one, now we don't have an LCD already. So the LCD is going to be 2x squared. So we need to look at each one and see what is it missing. So this one, the 1/2, is missing an x squared. So I'm going to multiply by x squared over x squared. And that will give me 2x squared on the bottom. The second one, 2 over x, I need a 2 and an x. So I'm going to multiply by 2x and 2x. And you can write this any way you want that helps you understand it. And the third one, I'm just missing a 2. Okay? So on the first one, I have 1 times x squared is x squared. And then 2 times 2x is 4x. And then negative 3 times 2 is minus 6. And I get 2x squared on the bottom. Okay? You can see at the top will factor. In this case, it won't. There's no two numbers that multiply give you 6 that differ by 4. Okay, 6 and 1 differ by 5, 2 and 3 differ by 1. So we are finished. All right, on this one, this is going to factor to, it's a difference of squares, to 2x plus 1, 2x minus 1. And that's going to be my LCD. Which means, and again, it's always a good idea just to write it out so you know what you're going for and I can see what you're going for. Doesn't take that long to write out the LCD off to the side. So all I need to do is multiply 2x minus 1 here. Don't forget it's in parentheses, top and bottom. Which means I need to distribute this 5 here and here. So that's going to give me 10x minus 5, and the plus 6 just rides along. Now, talk about the notes. Depending on how your brain works, you can just work on the top and simplify it instead of rewriting the bottom every time if you'd like to. And just go to 10x plus 1 over 2x plus 1, 2x minus 1, because it can be a lot of writing, okay? But sometimes, and be careful, people do that but then forget to put that back in at the end. So some of you might need to do this. And I'm not going to do this every time. I'm just going to kind of remind you. Some people need to do this so they don't lose the bottom, because sometimes people will just do the top and then write 10x plus 1 and go on, and they forget to write the denominator. So you do what you need to do for your brain. Okay? All right, so here we have two different binomials. So the LCD is going to clearly be x plus 5, x plus 1. Which means on the left one, I'm going to have to multiply by x plus 1, top and bottom. Don't just do the top. And this one is going to be x minus 1. Sorry, x plus 5. I don't know where that x minus 1 came from. Now, be very careful anytime there's subtraction. And like I said in the notes, what I like to do is make this a plus and put the negative with the -4, make it a -4. So I remember to distribute a -4 throughout and a 3 throughout here. So I'm going to get 3x plus 3 minus 4x minus 20. And again, you could write the x plus 5, x plus 1 here, and then do it again. I'm just going to join like terms. So that's negative x minus 17 over x plus 5, x plus 1. Okay? And that's really all you can do. You could factor a -1 out of the top and get -1 times x plus 17, but that really does not help at all. All right, number 7, got to factor it. Again, key to this chapter is factoring. So we need x and x. 3 times 2 is 6. Now here's a hint, okay, just for this chapter. If you see an x plus 3 here, there's a good likelihood that this should be x plus 3, which it is, because we want more positives and negatives. But, you know, we're not going to make this super complicated. So look for those clues. Okay, so my LCD here is going to be x plus 3, x minus 2. Which means I just need to multiply by x minus 2 here and x minus 2 here. Again, I have subtractions. I'm going to make that plus -5. I'm going to put these in parentheses and remind myself to distribute to both. So on the left, I just have a 6. And then minus 5x and plus 10. And I'm going to simplify. Negative 5x plus 16 over x plus 3, x minus 2. And that's my answer. All right. I know there's a lot of problems here, but the practice is where you learn and master the skill. All right, so in this one, we're going to take a 3 out. Always look for the GCF. And that gives me x minus 4. Well, here I have an x minus 4, which means my LCD is simply 3 parentheses x minus 4. Not plus 4, minus 4. Which means all I need to do here is multiply by 3 and 3. That's pretty simple. So that gives me 3x plus 21 over 3 times x minus 4. Now here's one of those ones where I talked about at least preview it. Notice the top, I can take a 3 out. Well, shoot, if I take a 3 out, then I will be able to cancel the 3's. I cannot cancel the 3's right now because that 3 is tied to the x and the plus 21. So I'm going to go one step further, factor a 3 out. And now I can cancel my 3's, which leaves me with x plus 7 over x minus 4. So that's one of the times where factoring would lead to canceling, but you've always got to preview it, at least in your head. All right, number 9. Probably the nastiest looking one we got so far. I'm going to real fast just do this right now before I forget, because there's going to be a lot of stuff going on here. Now, I could try to factor this first denominator, but, well, I'm going to, but instead of trying to factor it by guessing and checking, I'm going to take a 3 out first and make it a little bit easier to see what's going on here. Okay, and then that's going to factor to 3x, 3, 2. I want more positives than negatives. There we go. 3x plus 3x minus 2. And then over here, this has to be 2, and this has to be x. Now I need to get 11. It needs to add up to 11. Okay? So I think about ways to make 11 with the 5 and the 3 I'm going to use for 15. And I'm going to need 6 and 5, so I'm going to put the 3 here and the 5 here. And they're both positive. Okay? So this is one of the nastiest ones we got on here, but it's good to see just for practice. Okay? What do we need? Well, we need the 3 here. They both have an x plus 3, so we're good there, but we need to still write it in the LCD. We need this x minus 2, and we need this 2x plus 5. So this is the most involved LCD we have so far. So looking at the first fraction, we got the 3, the x plus 3, and the x minus 2. We just need the 2x plus 5. On the second fraction, we have the 2x plus 5 and the x plus 3. We need the x minus 2, and we also need that 3. So we need this 3. That's a horrible 3, one of my worst. X minus 2. Now this is one where you definitely, I would, unless you need to do it, I would not write that denominator every single time because that's a lot of writing. So be very careful. So on the top, basically on the left, all I have is 4x times this and this. So that's 8x squared plus 20x. Over here, be careful. I have the negative 2x times the 3 times the x minus 2. You might want to think about this first and think about that being negative 6x and then send that in. So negative 6x times x is going to be negative 6x squared. And then negative 6x times negative 2 is going to be plus 12x. Now I'm going to simplify. 8 of these, take away 6 of these is 2 of these. 20 plus 12 is 32. That's not 32, that is. Now I'm going to factor again. I'm going to take a 2 out. And I'm going to take an x out. That gives me x plus 16. And that's all I can do. That's simplified. And now I'm going to write that huge, nasty LCD. And the only possible thing to factor, okay, would be the 2x and the 3. But there's nothing to factor there. So that's it. Now, if that was a 2 on the bottom or that was a 3x on top, we could cancel something. But that's it. And that's about as nasty as it gets. And it's really not hard. It's just really time consuming and you got to be careful. Okay, back to some easy factoring. Difference of squares. X plus 4, x minus 4. Factor out 2, GCF, x plus 4. And hey, look there, x plus 4, x plus 4. So what's my LCD? My LCD is a 2, an x plus 4, and x minus 4. So the only thing I'm missing on the left is the times 2. And then what I'm missing here is the x minus 4, which I'm going to distribute. Notice I have a plus, so that doesn't throw any complications in there. So 2 times 16 is 32, plus 3 times x, plus 3 times negative 4, which is negative 12. I'm going to join like terms and get 3x. 32 minus 20 is, 32 minus 12 is 20. Can't do anything else there. No factoring. If it was 21, I could take a 3 out, but I can't. And that leaves me with my x plus 4 times 2 times x minus 4 on the bottom. Finito. All right, number 11. First off, 5 and 12. LCD is 60. Okay, if you count by 12s, 12, 24, 36, 48, 60, first one that ends in a 0 or a 5. Then x4 and x2, well, again, we can't go backwards, so we kind of round up. We go to the bigger one, x4. And there is no y's in the first one, but we need y3 because of the one on the right. Now we just look. For 12, I need a 5. X to the 4, I got it. I also need a y cubed. And that's it for the left. Notice I have a minus sign, so I'm going to put that right there. 5 times 12, I need that. X2, I need that. And y cubed, I got it. So I need to write 12x squared here again. So on the top, on the left, 5 times 5 is 25, and the y cubed just tags along, minus 12x squared. And then on the bottom, I have 60 x to the 4th y cubed. Now, nothing can cancel here. Okay? Remember, you cannot cancel this 12 with this 60 because of this minus sign. Okay? You can't do it. It's a big no-no. You can't cancel 2 of those with 2 of those. Nope, can't do it because, again, of this minus sign. You can't cancel the y cubes. All right? So that's it. Be careful on those. Very common occurrence is wanting to cancel stuff that you can't cancel across a plus or minus sign. Leave the binomials and trinomials alone. Okay, last 2. On this left one, we're going to factor into 2. We need 2 numbers that multiply to give us 6 that add this time to 5. Well, that's 3 and 2. And they're both going to be negative. Over here, we have easy difference of squares. So, what do we have for an LCD? Well, we have a p minus 3 in both of them, but we still need that. But they're already set up. We need a p minus 2 for the left one, and we need a p plus 3 for the right one. That will satisfy everything. So on the left, what do we need? We need the p plus 3. And again, this gets sloppy in here, and you write it anyway that works out for you. On the left, what do we need? Well, we have the p plus 3, p minus 3. We need the p minus 2. Also, we have a subtraction, so I'm going to change this to negative 5. All right. Now, on the top, a little bit of extra work here. We need to FOIL. And if you need to go off to the side and do that, that's fine. I'm just going to do it in my head. 2p times p is 2p squared. I'm going to have negative 3p and 6p. So that gives me, again, 2 times 3 is 6p minus 3p. So pay attention to your signs, okay? So we have negative 9. We have negative 3p and positive 6. So that's going to be a positive 3p. and then we have negative 9. On the right side, we have negative 5p plus 10. The 2p squared has no one to talk to. 3p minus 5p is negative 2p. Negative 9 plus 10 is plus 1. This won't factor, so I'm done. I just need to write in that long LCD. That's it. Last one, I know, finally. 2, I'm taking out GCF of x, then x minus 6 is left. Here, again, a little bit of hint. Probably going to be an x minus 6 here. I need two numbers to multiply, give me 12 that differ by 4. Well, that's 6 and 2. Where does the 6 go? Doesn't matter. And then I want more negatives and positives. There it is. So my LCD on this one, I need a 2. I need an x minus 6. And I need an x plus 2. On the left one, I just need that x plus 2. On the right one, I just need the 2. So what does that give me on the left? 5x plus 10. Again, careful here. That gives me negative 40. Joint like terms, 5x minus 30. Looking ahead, I'm going to take that 5 out because it's going to give me x minus 6. Because I know I have that x minus 6 here, which now will cancel, which leaves me with just the 5 on top, the 2 on the bottom, and the x plus 2, and that's it.